Alrighty, so we have to divide this polynomial. So there are two ways to divide a polynomial: synthetic division or long division. They both get you the same answer. I prefer synthetic division because to call it division is a stretch, versus long division is the same thing you learned in elementary school. So we're going to start with synthetic division because it's easier in my mind. So synthetic division, you're not necessarily doing division. You're really looking at the coefficients of each and every term. So here are all my terms. So some of these guys have coefficients, some of them don't. So we know x to the third, it looks like it doesn't have a coefficient, but technically has a coefficient of 1. Now all of them have coefficients. So let's look at them. So we have 1, -4, 7, and -1. So you take those coefficients and you might have noticed this sort of funky upside down fraction bar. That's what I always call it, because technically we're dividing. So you use those coefficients and you write them on the top right here. So 1, -4, 7, and -1. You then have to deal with this guy right here, the number you're dividing it by. But you're not actually dividing it by -2, you're dividing it by +2. You're taking the opposite. Because technically speaking, x minus 2, when you set it equal to 0, is equal to 2. So that's just on a side note. So what you end up doing is you always bring the first number down, and that gives you 1. But then we have to multiply 2 times 1. So I'm going to put a little dot there for multiplication. So 2 times 1 gives me a total of 2. And then I have to add these guys right here. So -4 plus 2 gives me -2. Okay, cool. Now we're going to wash, rinse, repeat. So now it's going to be 2 times -2, which ends up giving me -4. Add those together. 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. And then the last one, 2 times 3 is 6. And then add those guys together, and we end up getting +5. So now we have these guys right here, and these are going to be the coefficients of all finite numbers. So we end up getting 1, -2, 3, and 5. But unless this number is equal to 0, then what this tells us is that we have a remainder, which blows, but whatever. So we always start backwards. So technically speaking, this is going to be my remainder, and then x to the 0, x to the first, x to the second. So we end up getting an answer of x squared, or if you really wanted to, 1x squared minus 2x plus 3x to the 0, right? So now I'll leave this one in blue, but all the rest I'll write in white. So 1x squared minus 2x plus 3 plus 5, but because it's a remainder of 0, it's all over that x minus 2. So here's our answer. So again, to call it division is a stretch because you're not really dividing. It's easier in my mind. But if we were to scroll up and we to do long division now, it's the same exact thing as what you learned when you were a kid. So we're going to long divide x to the third minus 4x squared plus 7x minus 1. And it's all being divided by x minus 2. All right, so it's the same thing that you learned as a child. You want to eliminate all of these guys until you can't eliminate anymore. But technically speaking, you can't eliminate x and x to the third. But you can multiply it by some number to be able to do so. So specifically in this case, you can multiply it by x squared. If you multiply this term by x squared, you end up getting the x to the third right here that you can subtract and eliminate. And then minus 2x squared. So let's go ahead and do this. Like I said, those eliminate. And then -4x minus minus is really plus. So that gives you 2x squared plus 7x minus 1. So now we wouldn't multiply it by x squared now to eliminate it. Now to get rid of this guy right here, we would want to multiply that number by 2x. So plus 2x. because 2x times 2x is 2x squared minus 2. So this gives us minus 4x. You subtract these guys, they'll go poof. And then you end up getting 7x plus this guy, which ends up giving you 11x, which, is that right? I don't know. I mean, it should give you 11x, but I feel like when I did it out last time, I got it a different number. So we'll see. It's going to be a journey. So then now, last but not least, what you need to do is you multiply it again. So we're going to multiply it in this case by 11x. Yeah, no, this is definitely not right. So where's my mistake, folks? Because we want to get plus 3, and that's not going to give us plus 3 because we need to multiply it by 11. So where's my mistake, folks? So this turns into that, that turns into that. Oh, I found my mistake. This should be 3x. This should be 3x. When I did the multiplication up here, I messed up. This should be 3x. This should be, yeah, should be 3x. So now, what do we have to multiply by? But we have to multiply by 3, which again gives me what I wanted. So that makes me feel better. So plus 3. So that gives me 3x minus 6. We go ahead and do that. These eliminate, and then you end up getting minus minus turns to plus. That ends up giving you 5. That's your remainder. So you end up getting the same exact thing, x squared plus 2x plus 3, but then your remainder of 5 over what you were dividing by. Woohoo! So again, there are technically two different ways to do the same problem, but honestly, synthetic division is easier, but to their own. So technically speaking, there is more than one way to do this. Let me know if you have any questions.